ABC Sports welcomes you to Phoenix, Arizona. This is the Indy Racing Northern Light Series, today featuring the MCI WorldCom 200 at Phoenix International Raceway. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Settle back for the next couple of hours and enjoy some racing with us. With me is Tom Sneva, former Indy 500 winner and a driver who won 4 times on this track. What's the secret to winning here, Tom?
Pretty much traffic and track position. Now in basketball, moving screens and picks are illegal, but for these guys, it's a big part of the offense needed to win on the Phoenix Mile. Now I'll guarantee you one thing, when the green flag falls, these guys will show you the true definition of March Madness.
Greg Ray and Mark Dismore on the front row, Scott Sharp and Robbie McGee in row number 2. In the third row, it's Jared Schrader and Tyce Carlson. Fourth row, Scott Goodyear and Eddie Cheever. Scott Goodyear won his very first Indy Racing Northern Light Series event here last year and went on later to win at Texas. In the fifth row, it's Robbie Buhl and Davey Hamilton. Donnie Beechler and Stefan Gregoire are in row number 6. In the seventh row, Jeff Ward and Jimmy Kite. Buzz Calkins and Billy Vogt make up row number 8. In the ninth row, Eliseo Salazar and Ronnie John Cox. Row number 10, Sam Hornish and Al Unser Jr. What did Al Unser Jr. do after his first event in Orlando? Well, he put on a helmet of a different kind and took the family up into the snow in the mountains of New Mexico for some snowmobiling. Sarah Fisher and Doug Dodaro are in row number 11. Fisher is in her second series start. She's no stranger, though, to racing. Here she is in a midget at Indianapolis Raceway Park, taking the lead from third starting position. In the 12th row, Bobby Register and Ayrton Daré. And in row number 13, Nicholas Johnson and Buddy Lazier, who qualified 24th, but wanted to go to a backup car, and so he is in last position. Here's Jack Arute.
Bob, they hope they've cured the gearbox problems from Orlando, specifically in this area here, this pin. It's sheared off. They've sent some update kits out. Let's check in with Vince.
Tires will not be a problem today. The Firestones have been great all weekend. They're the same tires they ran at Orlando and the test in the West. It's hot down here, but the tires will handle the heat. Bob Jenkins?
78 degrees as we begin to get ready for the green flag. Track temperature 123, the exhaust temperature 1350. Well, this second event of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series for the year 2000 is about to begin. Greg Ray is on the pole. Mark Dismore alongside with Scott Sharp and Robbie McGee. In the second row, the pace car pulls off of corner number 4. The field begins to look for green, and they get it. Here we go.
Side by side into one.
Greg Ray takes a car length advantage out of corner number 2 down the dog leg. There's a dog leg right there in the backstretch. It's not a straightaway, and now Mark Dismore makes a move to the inside, heading into turn number 3. They're wheel to wheel through the corner. Let's see who's going to lead lap number 1. It is Greg Ray with Dismore right behind him. Then Scott Sharp running in third spot, but Dismore continues the challenge.
Again, Dismore got underneath him, getting the 3, but it's tough to carry that momentum as the track flattens out. Ray was able to hang on.
Greg Ray led 46 laps in the opener at Orlando, and he has the advantage once again here at Phoenix International Raceway. Now the battle becomes a good one for second position. Scott Sharp closing in on his teammate, Mark Dismore, as Greg Ray continues to stretch it out just a little bit. There's the battle for second, Dismore and Scott Sharp.
This is inside Dismore, or inside Sharp looking at Dismore. This is looking back now from Dismore to Sharp.
That's Robbie McGee running there in the 4th position, not too far behind Scott Sharp. McGee driving the black car. There he is. That's Dismore running second. Then Sharp. Then McGee running behind him. Jared Schrader, Tyce Carlson, Cheever, Goodyear, Buhl, and Calkins, the top 10 here as we've completed 4 laps.
As we get more laps on these tires, if their balance is off a little, it's going to show up more and more with each corner that the car tries to drive through.
Scott Sharp is a former winner here at Phoenix International Raceway, starting 8th and winning in 1998.
You can see that the top of the steering wheel is cut away. That helps the driver see the dash and all the instruments on board the car better.
Best battle still on the racetrack is for the second position. Mark Dismore won the season finale last year at Texas, and here is Sharp taking second from Mark Dismore. Made the move at the end of the backstretch going into turn number 3. And now he sets his sights on the leader as Robbie McGee goes to the inside, and he takes third position from Dismore. So Mark loses 2 spots here in a half a lap.
Well, Dismore we heard on the radio that he had an understeer. The car was pushing, and again, as laps go by, the push gets worse and worse, and these guys finally just drove on by.
There is the leader, Greg Ray, who has led all the way so far. Buddy Lazier has made some great strides. He started back in the last position and is now running in 17th spot, so a good move. He just simply was not happy with the chassis that he qualified in on Saturday and wanted to go to the backup car, so in order to do that, you have to start last. Now up front, we see Scott Sharp closing in on Greg Ray.
Well, again, once he was able to dispose with Dismore, his teammate, he was able to catch right up to Greg Ray.
Advantage is about 2 car lengths as they head down into 1 again, and Robbie McGee is also a contender here. He's just a couple of car lengths behind Scott Sharp.
That's that black car in the 3rd spot, and he came right with Sharp. They both drove right up to Greg Ray.
McGee had a good run in Orlando. He is the Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500 last year. Orlando, he started in 4th position and finished in 10th. Did a half spin early in the race at Orlando, but recovered quickly from it and went on to finish in the top 10.
Boy, he got pretty lucky there. He actually threw up the dirt in Orlando and got away with it, but I'm sure that he learned from that, and he's right there now.
Greg Ray setting a pace of about 161 miles an hour. Scott Sharp, that last lap, was reported at 160.1, so just about a mile-an-hour difference. But you can see still that the advantage is just a couple of car lengths from by Greg Ray, and now he begins to catch some of the slower traffic.
Well, and it's just not 1 or 2 cars. There's 4 cars out there that they're going to have to deal with. Now, as the driver comes up on this traffic, he's got to anticipate what's going to happen before he gets right on the rear end of that car. And they'll be looking at that for the next couple laps as they approach.
Well, that white car that he will be approaching first is Bobby Register from Florissant, Colorado. He's substituting in the Tresselli car for Jacques Lazier, who was injured in the race in Orlando. Oh, Ray gets it, and look at McGee. McGee was able to get to the inside of Scott Sharp there going into turn 1, and so Sharp loses a position, gives second now to Robbie McGee.
Well, things happen so fast on the mile. If you just hesitate an ounce like Scott did, he wasn't sure what that lap traffic was going to do, and McGee stuck his nose right in there.
And now look at McGee. He's looking like he wants to take a shot at the lead. He looks to the inside of Ray into turn 1, but cannot make the move. Again, impressive early performance here by Robbie McGee from the St. Louis, Missouri area. And again, he slides inside, but cannot get the job done. Meanwhile, Sharp has closed on McGee once again.
Well, you saw Robbie stick his nose right in there, and when you do that, sometimes you lose the air on the wings. They need clean air to get the downforce they require, and sometimes you can lose that air if you're tight.
We have a car that's going slowly out of corner number 2. He may make it to the pull-off area. Meanwhile, as the leaders begin to slap some of the slower traffic, again, it gets close up front. There is the onboard camera with Scott Sharp as he comes to the inside of Johnson, puts him a lap down. And the car that was going slowly out of turn number 2 did make it to the runoff area. That is Jimmy Kite, who's going to be apparently the first out of the race. And now we see McGee battling with some of the slower traffic.
You could hear in the radio the car was pushing. That sounded like it came from Scott Sharp's car.
It's Robbie John Cox that was just lapped. Now here is McGee to the outside in the D-shaped part of the oval, and Robbie McGee takes the lead.
Well, I think Ray's got a problem there because Robbie just went around the outside. You can see he's getting past for second now.
Back with more in just a moment. Bob Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneva, Jack Arute, and Vince Welch back at the Phoenix Indy 200. They're the top 5 as Robbie McGee has the lead. Now, Buddy Lazier continues to make great strides. He is up to 12th position. Vince Welch, a good run for him so far.
Remember, he started dead last, 26th, after he changed cars, so he's already up 14 positions. The key with this driver and this team is to get Buddy a good handling race car. Speed, not necessarily the key with this Himmelgarn team, but they've got to get Buddy Lazier a good handling car, and that's what they've got right now. He'll make up the spots in traffic because he's one of the best at driving through traffic.
One of 2 Riley and Scott chassis in the field, the other driven by Sarah Fisher. She, by the way, has gone a lap down. Well, Greg Ray led the early going, but Jack Arute, he's back to 3rd now.
And Tom Sneva, you talked about those moving picks in racing. Well, that's exactly what got the best of Greg Ray. They were not quite happy with the handling of the car when he came up into race traffic. The actual balance of the car really went away severely. They said, just back off, let the guys go by, collect ourselves, and get it back together and go after him again.
Sometimes it doesn't take much to heat up a tire, and you just got to slow down and let the tire cool. And then
the leader is spinning. That's McGee hitting the wall in turn 2. Our onboard camera was riding with the 2nd place Scott Sharp, and we saw McGee lose control in turn 2 and whack the outside wall at the exit of that corner.
Well, again, Sharp was coming up behind him, but he shouldn't have been close enough to disturb the air on McGee's car, and he just shot sideways. Well, you can see Sharp looks underneath McGee going into one. And again, the back end just steps out. I don't know if McGee felt the pressure of Sharp coming and just maybe got in the corner a little hotter than he should have.
Well, Robbie McGee crashes against the wall in turn number 2, damaging both the back end and the front end of the car, and early out, but he gave it a good ride in the first 30 laps of the race. He's climbing out of the car right now. We'll be back with more in a moment from Phoenix.
This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobil 1. Nothing outperforms Mobil 1. Here now, Bob Jenkins.
We're under our first caution here at Phoenix International Raceway. Robbie McGee, who is leading the race, slid into the wall in turn number 2. While we are under caution, gives us a chance to update you on, well, the A.J. Foyt team. We'll show the results of the NASCAR Winston Cup race at Darlington, South Carolina today. Ward Burton won that event with Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt, Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton in the top 5. Now, Dick Trickle took over the A.J. Foyt car in Winston Cup. Mike Bliss, of course, had been driving it. Trickle finished in the 14th position. Now here, Eliseo Salazar is running in 17th spot, and A.J. Foyt's other driver, Jeff Ward, is running 18th. Now, updates from the pits. Here's first Vince Welch.
Huge disappointment for Robbie McGee and the Treadway team. They felt they had a car capable of winning this race today. They just wanted to get clean toward the end of the race. Skip Fall, the chief mechanic, said Robbie McGee gave him no indication that they had any problem before the mishap. Scott Sharp changed 4 tires, but they had a little problem getting the car into gear as they exited the pit lane, but it was a near flawless stop for Scott Goodyear's team in the Pennzoil Panther squad. Jack Arute.
Vince, let's tell you a little bit about Greg Ray. We told you the problem he was having in traffic. They cured it by putting 2 turns into the front wing. What they're trying to do is stop some of the push condition where the nose wants to go to the wall. In the meantime, some radio reports and conversation between Derek Walker and his driver, Sarah Fisher. They weren't sure if they made contact, but they weren't all that positive, and they said, we'll discuss it some more. Guys?
So we're still under caution. We will have green flag racing when we return. We'll return with more of the Indy Phoenix 200 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. In one more lap, we'll be getting the green flag and resume our competition. Eddie Cheever is the leader of the race. Next Sunday, the NHL on ABC continues. Some of you will see the New York Rangers face off against the Detroit Red Wings. Check your local listings for other regional action. That's next Sunday live at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on ABC, home of the Stanley Cup. Now, Sarah Fisher is right behind the leader, between the leader Eddie Cheever and second place Billy Boat. She is, however, a lap down in 19th position. She did not pit, Jack Arute.
No, she did not. And the conversation between she and Derek Walker is kind of like listening to an air traffic controller to a pilot. Very calm, very deliberate. And In fact, Sarah is taking such good care of the car, Tom Sneva, that he was concerned about the tire temperatures and the pressures going down.
Here we go, the green flag waves, and Cheever gets a good jump. Now that's Sam Hornish coming to the inside of Fisher, and he's in second position. Quickly, Scott Sharp moves to third, passing Billy Boat. Now Cheever, Hornish, and Boat did not pit during that caution period. And here comes Scott Sharp up behind and to the left of Sarah Fisher to put her back in another spot. So Fisher is a lap down in 19th spot right now. And you know, that caution was really helpful to Al Unser Jr. Before we had the crash, he was the next car that would have gone a lap down, but because of the caution and the pit stops, he's up into 15th position right now.
Well, he struggled all weekend. I'm surprised. I thought he'd be a little stronger in the race, but they don't have it quite yet.
Here's Greg Ray and Scott Goodyear as they run in the 6th and 7th position. 8th is the red car driven by Jarrett Schrader. And Schrader, the rookie, doing a great job. We're on board the defending champion of this race, Scott Goodyear, running back in the 7th position in the Pennzoil Panther car.
Again, we heard him on his pit stop. Well, there's the radio. Anyway, he's happy with the car, but he says they need to finally adjust it, finally tune the thing on the pit stops that come from here on out.
Schrader right behind Scott Goodyear. We've completed 42 laps of the Phoenix Indy 200 at Phoenix International Raceway. Eddie Cheever has the advantage over Sam Hornish, Scott Sharp, Billy Boat, and Mark Dismore. One caution has slowed the proceedings so far. Robbie McGee, who led 11 laps and was in the lead at the time, lost control over in turn number 2 and banged the wall. He is okay. And Scott Goodyear took a look to the inside of Greg Ray there for that 6th position, but could not make the move.
And one of the situations that's unfolding with Greg Ray is Thomas Knapp, as crew chief, guys, does not think that the pace is slow enough. He is
another crash, this one up in turn number 4.
Buzz Calkins, the 12 car. Heavy traffic, all got underneath Buzz.
Good job of driving by a lot of cars who were right behind Buzz when he went in, and it's only a single car crash.
Well, that's in turn 3. That's a real fast part of the racetracks, and he hit pretty hard. So you can see Buzz looks like he doesn't feel perfect right now.
May have gotten his bell rung just a little bit. We hope that he is okay. This was his 4th start here at Phoenix. His best finish was 6th in his initial start here back in 1996. Buzz had been running at the finish of the last 11 races. That was a record for the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. But that will come to an end here today as Sarah Fisher decides to come in for a pit stop. Again, she did not pit during the first caution, but here she comes down to the attention of the Derek Walker team.
Something's wrong. It's just like the throttle's stuck right where it's at. When I went to get on the brakes, it wouldn't slow down, of course, and then I tried to slow it down, and it won't go any farther back.
That's not a good situation when the throttle sticks in a place like Phoenix. So this 19-year-old's getting the first-class lesson of what IndyCar racing's all about right now.
And here comes Eddie Cheever as he relinquishes the lead here to come in for his first pit stop.
Well, it was interesting. You know, a guy could have done this race in 2 stops if the yellows came at the right time. This is just a little bit early, though.
Bensie's in front of you.
Yeah, his car is handling fine, but they're going to give it a little more front wing. Remember, he ran O'Reilly and Scott at Orlando, but he has switched to the Dallara. This car had not even been on the racetrack. This car had not even been on the racetrack until it got here to Orlando, and they are very happy with the way it has run so far.
You might have noticed they sprayed water on the fuel inlet as they pulled the refueler out of the car, and that's just to ensure that they don't get any fire, any heat that would cause any kind of fire to begin.
Eddie Cheever was born here in Phoenix, Arizona. His family moved to Italy when he was 4 years of age, but considers this his home in the United States. Not only a new chassis for Eddie, but a new sponsor. Excited home on the side pods of that car. Under caution because of Buzz Calkins' accident. More after this. Back at Phoenix, where we remained under caution because of the Buzz Calkins accident. He is in the ambulance, and we will give you an update whenever we can on his condition. Well, Scott Sharp is leader of the race right now. We all, of course, think ahead to the Indianapolis 500 coming up not too long from now. Scott Sharp will be among the top contenders when they wave the green for that race.
Probably one of my favorite memories of Indianapolis was when I was a real little kid sitting there on the couch watching the 500 with my dad and not really even sure what the Indy 500 at that point was. And you saw this guy hop out of his car and the driver's beating on the back of his car with a hammer. And I'm like, what's going on there? And my dad's like, oh, it's A.J. Foyt. You know, it's pretty typical. Just keep watching. And from there, I just got pretty hooked and, you know, followed him and certainly followed the sport. And from there, just, you know, developed a love affair with IndyCar racing.
Scott Sharp and all of us look forward to the Indianapolis 500 here on ABC May the 28th. Things not going well for Sarah Fisher, Jack.
But she is going to troop on, guys. They discovered what the problem was a small bolt that connects the butterflies and opens and closes them. And what happened was they repaired it. They said, Sarah, do you want to go back out and log some laps? She said, let's go. So they've made a couple of adjustments, and now she's going to go to school, guys.
Still under caution as they clean up the accident over in corner number 3. Today's aerial coverage being brought to you by Wolf Air's Gyron Eagle. While we are under caution, we'll take another break. Scott Sharp, Sam Hornish, Billy Boat, Mark Dismore, and Greg Ray, the top 5. Scott Sharp leads here at Phoenix under caution, but up to second position after starting 16th is Billy Boat. He, however, has not made a pit stop yet.
No, it was interesting. On the first yellow, it looked like 3 or 4 of the guys, including Eddie Cheever, were looking to maybe try a 2-stop race. But again, about 10 laps later, we have another yellow. 2 or 3 of those guys gave up on the 2-stop strategy, but Billy Boat sticking to the guns. They're going to try to do this thing in 2 pit stops.
Sam Hornish was in second position. He now is back in 15th. And speaking of Sam, we want to say hi again, as we did yesterday on ESPN2 in our qualifying coverage. Hi to Sam Schmidt, who continues, we understand, to make good strides at the Rehabilitation Hospital in St. Louis. Sam, we're thinking of you. We are very, very anxious to see you back here at the racetrack soon, and all of our prayers and hopes are with you. We'll join the LPGA's hottest player, Kari Webb, as she takes on defending champion Dottie Pepper, as some of the top women in golf go at it at the Nabisco Championship, the first major on the LPGA Tour, live at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific on ABC. There is Jeff Ward on board camera. He's running 12th, Jack.
Well, we're getting to hear to Robbie McGee, because he's just been released from the hospital. Hey, Robbie. What happened?
It's just a big shame for the Energizer team. Treadway Racing's given me a great car, you know, for this race all week, and we were very confident. You know, unfortunately, I don't know what happened. I went through turn 2, a little.
Well, the microphone has gone dead, unfortunately, but the good thing is that Robbie McGee is okay. He has been released from the hospital. Vince Welch?
You've talked about Billy Boat and his pit strategy. He stayed out. The car has been very good, and I talked to Billy before the race, and he wasn't really sure about how his race car was going to react to these conditions, but it's been strong. His team says it can stay out another 25 laps before it needs to pit, and they're going to stay out there as long as necessary. They like their position out front.
Well, Boat has had some good runs here at Phoenix, netting a 3rd and a 4th place finish in his 2 previous efforts here.
Well, it's interesting, Bob. This is a year-old car, so a lot of people think they might be giving up a little bit to some of the 2000 cars, but Billy's done a tremendous job so far. And this strategy, it'll be interesting to see if it plays out. 25 more laps, that's quite a ways. Most of the guys were looking around lap 65 under green to make their first stop.
Al Unser Jr. is now up to the 10th position. Earlier in the weekend, we had a news conference over in the infield. The Cody Unser One Step Foundation, and logo is being carried by Al Unser Jr.'s car and by several other cars in the grid today. He started in 20th position and is currently in 10th. First $60,000 of that Cody Unser First Step Foundation donated by Bobby Labonte, giving up his winnings In the IROC series, he substituted for Allenser Jr. last year in IROC. Here we go. The green flag is waving, and we are back to competition at Phoenix. Scott Sharp, Boat, Dismore, Ray, Goodyear, the top 5, and now Dismore. Tries and can't make it.
No, he stuck his nose in there, but Billy sort of chopped it right off.
And now Greg Ray goes to the inside of Dismore as they battle for the 3rd position, and Ray takes that spot. Now we're on board with Scott Goodyear, who's running 5th.
Goodyear's real conservative. I mean, he's a real smart racer. He's been around a long time. He's not going to get the car in trouble early, and he's just biding time right now, but good racing right around him.
That red car with the black nose is Jared Schrader, and the black car behind him is Donnie Beechler, as those two battle for the 6th position, and just ahead of them is Goodyear in yellow.
Well, they're giving Goodyear all he wants right now, Jared.
And Buddy Lazier is right behind Beechler, running in the 8th spot. Boy, Buddy has just done a terrific job here in the opening 60 laps of this race to come from the final starting spot.
Well, again, and they shelved the car that they qualified and worked with all weekend. They had a half hour this morning to get a brand new car, hadn't turned a wheel, ready to race, and he started last, and he's gone way through the field.
Jared Schrader there in the red and black car. That is the TriStar Motorsports car. The owners Larry Curry, Andy Card, and Tony Stewart. He's doing a fine job running up in 6th position at the moment. He started from 5th spot. The career best start for him. This is his 5th race in the Indy Racing Northern Light Series.
Well, again, it's just so hard to pass here, Bob. You know, you can drive up behind a guy, but you got to be quite a bit quicker than another guy to get by here at the Phoenix Mile, unless you get to a traffic situation and can use one of those moving picks or screens we talked about.
Last lap at 164.5 for the leader. Back here where we're watching Jared Schrader's last lap, 161.4.
Again, if he can get by Goodyear, he'll probably go a little quicker, but he just hasn't been able to get by at this point.
Here is Scott Goodyear completing the 64th lap of this race. 17 cars currently on the lead lap. Scott Sharp, who is the leader right now, has led the most laps to this point. Greg Ray has led 18, Eddie Cheever 13, and Robbie McGee led 11 laps before he crashed over in turn number 2. So again, it's Goodyear, Schrader right behind him.
I talked to Larry Curry, the chief mechanic on that car, team manager, and they're using a shorter wheelbase and a wider track car than some of the guys out here today. And he thought in race condition this would be a better setup. They gave up a little on qualifying, but they felt that using the shorter wheelbase, putting more weight, static weight on the front of the car would be better for the long runs.
Vince, pretty impressive performance by this driver from Vineland, New Jersey.
Absolutely, the rookie has been terrific, and just to add to what Tom said, the car has been terrific as well. They've added tire and fuels, but they have not touched the setup of the race car at all. As you said, Tom, Larry Curry set this thing up, and it is running like a fine-tuned machine, and Jared Schrader's driving it pretty well also.
He sure is. Now there is Buddy Lazier in the Delta Fawcett sponsored car for Himmelgarn Racing.
Well, and again, Vince mentioned it. If they haven't made many adjustments on the pit stop, you've noticed everybody else, all the top runners, Greg Ray, Goodyear, all these guys are making severe changes, front wing angle changes, things like that on the pit stops.
Buddy Lazier said that they were concentrating during the entire practice period. They had practices on Friday and one on Saturday morning, and he said that they were working 100% during the practice on race setup. They were not concerned about qualifying. He qualified in 24th, but it is interesting that they would spend the entire time on the race and then transfer the information from that to the backup car in which he started today.
Well, they threw everything at it in practice and couldn't make the car better, and so they finally figured out they might have a bell housing that gone soft or a motor mount or something, so they just had to put the qualified car in the trailer and bring out this backup car, and doing a great job so far.
Well, we're checking the speeds here at the line. In that last lap, the fastest car on the racetrack was Robbie Buhl, a number 24 at 158.9. Second quick was Donnie Beechler. That's kind of interesting, as Robbie Buhl, who won the race in Orlando, runs back in the 9th spot at the moment. It is the fastest car on the racetrack, or was that last time. But again, it all depends on whether or not you're in traffic and how close you are behind the guy in front of you and how far you are from the guy ahead of you, behind you. Now an update on Calkins from Jackaroo.
Bob, hopefully this microphone is working now. Let's check with Brad Calkins, the dad of Buzz Calkins. What are they telling you?
Just told us that he had some upper back pain and some lower back pain. Got all sensation. He's very conscious and alert. We're just going to go down and get some pictures taken as a precaution.
Prayers go with you, Brad. Thanks, Jack.
Well, let's hope everything turns out well for Buzz Calkins, who won the very first Indy Racing Northern Lights Series event at Orlando in 1996.
Again, Buddy is sneaking up right behind Jared Trader right now, so there's some heavy traffic going on. And look at Beechler in the black car. Ooh. Now you can see he lost the front end when he got up tight, and Buhl gets right underneath Beechler. So there's some great racing going on right in this pack of cars.
They really are. Everybody's getting bunched up here. Al Unser Jr. is in this mix too, as he is right behind the Donnie Beechler car. Here comes Lazier. Now they're putting a lap on the 17 car of Nicholas Johnson, and that's kind of bunched everybody up here. There goes Al Unser Jr. to the inside of Nick.
Well, they've obviously made some good changes on Little Al's car, because, again, he was almost ready to get lapped. They made the adjustments on the stop, and he looks a lot more competitive right now than he was early.
Started 20th, stayed there for a while, but now has made some good movement upward. He has not raced here since 1995.
Turn 4, Bob. We got a car.
And we have a car in the wall. Ayrton Daré, it appears, is sliding against that 4th turn wall as the 3rd caution of the afternoon flies on Phoenix International Raceway on the 77th lap.
Car doesn't look too bad. It just looked like he might have slid out of the groove and caught the right front, but it doesn't look like any high-speed, heavy contact.
He had just lost a lap running back in 17th position, but now the car is up against the outside retaining wall right off corner number 4. He is climbing out of the car. It's a good break for Billy Boat, who again has not pitted to this point, but now will get a chance to do so under caution.
Well, it comes perfect timing for him. Perfect timing. Lap 77, they'll be able to go the rest of the way on one more stop. So this was really a break.
Well, there he is out of the car and apparently okay. We'll return with more of the Phoenix Indy 200 after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. We're back at Phoenix International Raceway. Robbie Buhl is currently running in the 15th position. Buhl's sponsor, Purex, part of the Dial Corporation, headquartered in Scottsdale, nearby Phoenix International Raceway. So, of course, he's hoping to do a good job in front of his hometown sponsor. Dreyer and Reinbold Racing took that car to the lead and the win at Orlando earlier this year to put himself in the points lead of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series as we came to Phoenix here this weekend.
Bob Jenkins, you're talking about Robbie Buhl, and because they won that race in Orlando, they felt they could take a much more conservative approach to this race here today. They aren't under the pressure to win here today when you look at the big picture of the championship, like some of the other teams who did not fare well in Orlando. So Buell's going to take a conservative approach, be there at the end, and they feel as though if they're running on the lead lap at the finish, they're still going to have a solid position and be the leader going to race 3 of the championship.
Well, next Sunday, the NHL on ABC continues. Some of you will see the action involving the New York Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings. Check your local listings for other regional action. Next Sunday, live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, that's 10 a.m. Pacific, here on ABC, the home of the Stanley Cup. Jeff Ward, driving one of 2 AJ Foyt-entered cars, started 13th and is currently in the 8th position. Eliseo Salazar, his teammate, is running in 7th spot at the moment. Down to Jackaroo.
We checked on Billy Boat's condition. He came in and he took on fuel. He extended that stop. And Tom Snead, listen to this. Even with all the laps he ran, he only took 33 gallons of fuel. They're getting incredible fuel mileage.
That is amazing. I don't know how they're doing that, but they've got something figured out.
And it could play a very important role in the outcome of this race. Green flag when we return.
Green flag, green flag.
Just as you rejoin us, the green flag comes out and we're back to racing. Greg Ray is surrounded by race cars.
Well, Sharp just took off and they caught Greg by surprise. Everybody caught Greg by surprise right there.
Ray maintained second position. Mark Dismore gave him a challenge there. Now we're on board with Scott Goodyear as he is behind Dismore.
These restarts are one of the big times you have a chance to make some hay, make up some spots. And so these guys are all right on the rev limiter.
Look at Jared Schrader there, giving a good battle for Scott Goodyear. Oh, side-by-side racing there. Wow. Salazar and...
That's a tough move to come around the outside. You just hope that guy knows that you're out there because you can get pinched up real easy in the exit of turn 2.
That was Eddie Cheever who went wheel to wheel with Salazar through there. Well, Scott Sharp is leading and coming into this race. He was tied for 24th on the all-time Phoenix lap leader list. He now has climbed to 20th, passing such greats as Mike Mosley, Roberto Guerrero, Jim McElreath, and Roger McCluskey.
You're talking about Eddie Cheever. He is complaining of a severe push condition. What they're going to do is when they get the next pit stop, they're going to change the wicker bills. And what that is, the little edge on the end of the wings, it creates a little difference in airflow.
Well, Cheever has moved up to the 5th position. There's 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Goodyear, Schrader, and Cheever. There is this 3rd place car of Mark Dismore. There is Cheever.
Well, you know, Cheever's talking about changing the wicker bill, Jack. You know how tough that is under a green flag stop. They're going to need a yellow to be able to change the wicker bill, and it'd probably be easier for them to change air pressure, stagger, and things like that rather than the wicker bills if it's a green flag stop.
Tommy had the greatest line that he said. He says, you know what? I've been so busy. I've drank about 6 gallons of water. We got to change this wicker bill.
90 laps completed here at Phoenix International Raceway in the Phoenix Indy 200 for the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Scott Sharp is your leader. He's led the most laps. Greg Ray, Eddie Cheever, and Robbie McGee have also led. Now the average speed of the race is 102, but the green average 159. And Robbie McGee has crashed, so has Buzz Calkins. Calkins has been taken down for some x-rays. McGee is okay, and so is Ayrton Daré, who also had an encounter with the retaining wall.
Calkins, they were reporting spray right before he crashed. Now, I don't know how big a factor that was, but obviously it caught Buzz out by surprise.
This is 2nd and 3rd, Greg Ray and Mark Dismore on board with Dismore.
And Bob, it could get real interesting right now. Greg Ray has been radioed by Thomas Knapp and told to settle in, and I quote, and let's just see what Scott Sharp has.
Thomas Knapp, the team manager for this team. There is Dismore.
Well, that's a tough comment from the pit. They asked him to settle in, and we'll see what he's got. If he settles in too much, they're going to see. They're not going to be able to see him at all. He'll drive away.
Look how quickly you close in on the slower traffic.
That's what's amazing here. That's why you got to always be on your toes here. Things pop up so quick that there's no time to relax.
That was Davey Hamilton that he went to the inside and passed. Hamilton is back in 19th position, some 6 laps down.
Davey, that's a new car this weekend, no testing, so it's a tough situation for Davey. Actually, he was more happy with this qualifying than he thought he would be.
But Tom, look for big things from Davey Hamilton in the future because he's been reunited on that team with his old friend and engineer, John King, from the A.J. Foyt days.
Now, how about this for a camera angle? I think we are the very first to put a camera in this location that's right in front of the left rear tire on the side pan, and it'll pan also.
Well, they put it right in front of the left rear tire because the engineers felt that's a dirty air area anyway, and the camera wouldn't upset any of the airflow around the car. But what a great shot here.
That's Scott Goodyear continuing to run in the 4th position. We're We're nearing the halfway point of this event, and another car is slow down the front stretch. That is Tyce Carlson. Tyce was the fastest in the morning warm-up, and remember his incredible performance here last year.
You heard in the radio, they talked about the gearbox right there. And this is really unfortunate because Tyce has been quick in practice all week. They were expecting or hoping for a good result.
And we do have a caution waving once again over the racetrack. Carlson last year started this race in the 9th position and worked his way up to 2nd, was eliminated in a crash and finished 23rd, but certainly that finishing position is not an indication of how well Tyce Carlson ran last year here. But unfortunately, he's pulled the car to the inside and appears to be out of the race here in the year 2000.
And if, in fact, it is that gearbox problem, you know, obviously they haven't fixed everybody's gearbox problem. We've seen some cars about spray, and a lot of times that's that gearbox oil coming out of these things before they expire themselves.
So the caution slows proceedings once again. Now Scott Sharp is the leader of the race, and Tom here, and next time around they will complete 100 laps. Thinks Scott Sharp is going to pit?
Well, I'm not sure. If they are, they're going to have to pit one more time before the race is over. They can't go 100 laps on
Tom, you're
on a
absolutely
tank of fuel.
correct. They had hoped to go until lap 115 and then make what would have been their last pit stop. But still, with the ever-changing track conditions, they've elected to come in a little bit early and make some adjustments.
And again, that's one of the reasons a lot of times they will change their strategy. If the car balance is not what they like, they've got to use the yellows to make these adjustments and hope to make the car good enough to offset that track position that they're going to give up.
Oldsmobile pace car has the field in tow, as you saw there on our shot of the official holding the flag with the X across it. That indicates that the pits are closed, but as soon as they open, Sharp and probably some others are going to come in for a stop.
Well, again, if the leader comes in, a lot of the other strategies are based on what the leader does. So if he comes in, I'm sure a lot of the others are going to follow right behind him.
Well, we'll soon know. Sharp first car behind the pace car. Let's see what happens here as he comes down and nears the area to enter pit lane. And he pulls off, drops down to the apron of the racetrack, and here comes Scott Sharp, our leader.
And Bob, the way Scott Sharp described it to pump up his team, he said, okay, showtime, let's have a perfect stop.
Ray has already stopped, and they're working on his car. Scott Sharp is pitted right down at pit out. Mark Dismore also gets work on the bottom of your screen. Ray is out, but remember, he's pitted right here by the start-finish line. Speed limit is 60 miles an hour, and Dismore gets out quickly.
Wow, good stop by Dismore. He beat Goodyear out. Goodyear has always got one of the quickest pit stops.
So we'll take a break and be back with more in just a moment of the Phoenix Indy 200. Back at Phoenix International Raceway, we ran one lap under green and had another crash, and this one involves two cars. Brings out our fifth caution of the day. Greg Ray involved, and so is Bobby Register. You can see Register's car up there at the top of your screen, the white car. Here's what happened. See if maybe they touched wheels. Maybe they did. There is Register, and a back-end blow suffered by Greg Ray. Here's another angle.
Well, you can see Register sideways. They both turned sideways. Now, I can't tell if they touched each other there, but this was right after a restart, so I'm not sure if they got together or if there was fluid on the racetrack.
Greg Ray crashed here during the test in the West, crashed very hard, as a matter of fact, in the fourth turn area. He was not injured, and now here he is, having crashed again here on the 108th lap of the race. Vince?
With John Menard, team owner for Greg Ray, did you get an indication from Greg what happened after the accident?
Well, apparently a car in front of him spun. He tried to go around him on the outside, and obviously that wasn't quite the thing to do. So
you're communicating with Greg over the headset. What conditions the racetrack in, and have you guys had to adjust to the different rubber that's been on the tire throughout the day, or the track throughout the day?
Well, really the rubber hasn't been giving us as big a problem as probably the heat, and we have made very minor adjustments to the car, and the car was doing, you know, reasonably well. We had a little push, but we were doing okay. It was just one of those racing accidents you get into sometimes.
Another tough luck finish. Your team, after 3 straight 21st place finishes last year, stormed back to win the championship. Now you're in another situation where you've had back-to-back tough finishes.
Well, nobody said it's going to be easy, you know, and I hope last year repeats itself, at least as far as we're getting through the hard part of the season for us anyway, so see what happens.
Maybe it'll make that comeback more exciting. John Menard, team owner for Greg Ray.
Greg Ray, the defending Indy Racing Northern Lights Series champion. You see that he did get out of the car and is walking away. Stefan Gregoire is the leader of the race. Running in second spot now is Al Unser Jr. Well, we've been talking about the Indianapolis 500 coming up, and we asked several drivers what their most fond memory of that place was. I don't think it'll be a surprise to hear what Al Unser Jr. had to say.
In '92, it was very special, you know, with racing against Scott Goodyear, and you know, we raced hard the entire race. And I can tell you, those last 7, 8 laps, my rear end was not in the seat. I mean, I got a 6-point artist on me, and my butt was not touching the seat. It was up in the air, and it was just a great race.
That it was. A great race, and we look forward to another one on May the 28th. The Indianapolis 500 will return with more of the Phoenix Indy 200 after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobile One. Nothing outperforms Mobile One. Here now, Bob Jenkins.
111 laps completed. Stefan Gregoire, the leader here at Phoenix. Al Unser Jr. running second. Let's give you a quick recap of what has happened so far in this 200-lap event here at Phoenix International Raceway. On the 19th lap of the race, Robbie McGee drives to the outside of Greg Ray and takes the advantage. But then on lap number 30, McGee running by himself crashes against the second turn wall. He is okay. Lap number 45, Buzz Calkins with heavy rear end impact into the third turn wall. He's still being checked over. This was the most recent crash. That is Greg Ray against the fourth turn wall. He is okay, and we are back to competition here at PIR. Stefan Gregoire with the advantage.
Sharp on the inside, looking to the inside of Buddy Lazier, but couldn't make it happen.
That's back for the 5th position on board with Scott Sharp now. There are 14 cars on the lead lap still, including Robbie Buhl, but he is about a half a lap behind the leaders of the race. There's Lazier and Scott Sharp down the straightaway once again.
Sharp get a pretty good run off of 2 and pull right up behind Lazier as they enter turn 3 right there.
Scott Sharp has led the most laps here this afternoon, 59 on 2 different occasions, but right now is battling for that 5th position with Buddy Lazier. Jack has an update from pit lane. Jack?
Well, right now, Scott Sharp is very concerned about teams that may not have to stop anymore. Had a candid and very animated discussion during that caution. When they did the calculations, the team Kelly, Scott Sharp entry, feels they don't have enough fuel, but they are so close by 1 lap. Watch for Robbie Buhl, however. He pitted just before the drop of the green flag. John O'Gara and Mitch Davis are rolling the dice. They say we'll work our way through as people pull onto pit road.
The problem with Buhl, though, Jack, is that he didn't get back out in up to speed by the time the green flag dropped, so he's not that far from being lapped. So he'll have to have the speed to maintain that lead lap at this point.
That is right. He is not too far ahead of the leader. Now we understand that Tyce Carlson, who brought out a caution when he pulled off the racetrack, is back in competition.
You know, guys, one of the things I'm very surprised about, we talked at the top of the show about concerns about gearboxes. Thus far, it seems like the update kits that were distributed have done the job.
Yeah, it obviously wasn't a gearbox problem for Tyce, like we indicated the radio report said.
Well, Lazier now has his sights on Billy Boat, who is running up there in the 4th spot. You can see separated by just a couple of car lengths. And Mark Dismore is slowing down off corner number 2. Dismore running in the 10th position, but off of number 2, the car very slow down the backstretch. Now there's a pull-off area that he is nearing. We hope that he can make it so it won't bring out a caution, and he does.
We don't see any warnings on the telemetry here.
He's down in the middle of 3 and 4, and it doesn't look like he's going to get there.
Well, he didn't use the cutoff area. He has elected instead to stay down on the apron of the racetrack and make it back to pit lane. Meanwhile, the action out on the racetrack.
Let's update you on Mark Dismore. There's a conundrum going on pit road because their telemetry does not show any problems, but Dismore radioed in and says the car just won't go anymore. He is trying to limp to pit road so that they can check it with the computer.
I can imagine what Dismore is telling him to do with those computers, right?
Well, there's Greg Waugh, the leader of the race, followed by Al Unser Jr. and then Donnie Beechler. Stephen Greg Waugh came here once again with high hopes of winning the pole position. He was among the fastest in the practice. However, they had a fuel pickup problem in the Saturday morning practice session just before qualifying, and they had to put 20 gallons of fuel in that car instead of the normal 7, and that of course gives added weight to the car, and it caused him to once again miss out on a possible pole position. But he's looked good here in the race, and he is currently in the lead over Al Unser Jr.
Well, the race has really come to him. Now you can see 5 or 10 car lengths in front is Robbie Buhl. Again, he didn't get back up to speed in that restart, but he's been able to maintain that spacing. But nobody is really giving Greg Waugh any kind of challenge right now.
Robbie Buhl is running in the 13th position, the final car on the lead lap. Ronnie John Cox at the bottom of your screen has completed a pit stop and pulls back out onto the racetrack. Al Unser Jr. running in the 2nd position, and Vince is with Greg Ray.
Well, Greg, after a disappointing finish at Walt Disney World and then to get caught up in something here, what happened?
Well, it's kind of like deja vu. We've had the same thing happen the last 2 years in a row at Orlando, and now same thing here. I guess Bobby Register was just a little anxious on that restart, and he had big stagger tires, and he spun on the restart, and I had nowhere to go. And I went to the outside, and I thought I cleared him, so I don't know if he just tapped me a little bit there or if I just caught a poof of air off of him. And, you know, I thought I saved it there at the last second, and then I just had to make too much correction and ended up spinning myself, hitting the wall. So very disappointing for the Conseco Team Menard. We had a lot of sponsors here this weekend, and we're looking forward to starting our season different than we did last year, but looks like it's almost identical. But the finish is up the same, we'll be happy.
Pass for the lead
and
right there,
Al
Bob.
Unser Jr. has taken the lead here at Phoenix, and he is out front for the very first time in his Indy Racing Northern Light Series career. Last race Al Unser Jr. led here was back in 1994 when he led 5 laps and eventually finished in 2nd spot.
Well, what a tremendous effort. That car was not very happy at the beginning of this race, but that crew worked on it, and the driver's got to communicate with the crew to let them know what to change and how much to go to get a car that's that far off back in the hunt.
He competed here 13 times prior to coming to the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. He says his best memory here at Phoenix was finishing 2nd to his dad in 1985. And there is Robbie Buhl now, and again, he is just that far from going a lap down as Al Unser Jr. goes to the inside of Davey Hamilton, who's having a real struggle here this afternoon, now 9 laps down.
Well, little Al slowly catching Buhl, so you know, this is a seasoned veteran at work. That car, after a few laps in the tires, Al's able to get more out of the car than some of these other guys.
And you would think that, again, he was one of those who worked on the race setup during the practice session. He didn't qualify all that well. and as a matter of fact was the next to the slowest in the final practice, the warm-up that was held earlier today. So he was obviously working on race setup, knows how to drive through traffic, and that of course is one of the key points of winning here at Phoenix. So Al Unser Jr., Stephen Gregoire, Donnie Beechler, Buddy Lazier, and Billy Bode are the top 5 after 133 of 200 laps. Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneva, Vince Welch, and Jack Arute back at Phoenix International Raceway. There are your top 5. Gregoire, second place, is coming in for a pit stop here on lap 141. Vince.
They're going to add fuel and tires. It's going to be enough fuel to get them to the end, obviously. Dick Simon just told me this has been their strategy the whole way. The car was not good at the beginning, but it has come to them the longer the race has gone. They are very happy with the way this race has played out, and they believe they've got a winner. A near flawless stop. They didn't touch the chassis.
15.6 second pit stop for Stephen Gregoire, and he goes back into competition. Down to Jack Arute. Does Al Unser Jr. plan to pit soon, Jack?
Yes, indeed. The magic number will be lap number 151, and what they're going to try and do is get the car to tighten up just a little bit. They're on old tires. They're greasy. They're super hot. Al says he likes it, but he needs to get a little more stability with the car. Should be their final stop. And when I asked this man right here, Rick Dallas, about the situation, he said, hey, we're doing just like in this, going to the Sweet 16. We're a 12 seed, and we're going to go to the Final Four and win the championship.
It would appear so. Al Unser Jr. passes Sarah Fisher. She is running in 15th position and now goes 14 laps down. That car has been on pit lane for quite a while during this event, but Sarah Fisher having a tough struggle here in her second Indy Racing Northern Light Series event. Well, Buddy Lazier is running in second position, then Donnie Beechler, and there is Billy Bode, Scott Goodyear, and Jared Schrader, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Well, and of those, well, this is outside of Goodyear's car, but Billy Bode is the one that stretched that first stop, so he may be a guy that can go the distance, Bob.
Team Pelfrey driver, Billy Bode.
And again,
underneath you, Scotty.
And now here is Jared Schrader looking to the inside of Goodyear. We've got a couple of veterans in Goodyear and Bode there, but Jared Schrader has just been very impressive all weekend long. Scott Goodyear goes to the inside of Billy Bode and takes up the 4th spot.
Talk about spots. You heard from Goodyear's spotter. I mean, these spotters can be invaluable in a place like this in a mile, but things happen so fast that they got to be on their toes and far enough ahead of the driver to really help him out. Good racing back there. I mean, there's just tremendous racing going on around the racetrack for all these positions.
Well, it's National Hockey Night tonight on ESPN, a battle of 2 teams fighting for the last 2 spots in a tight Eastern Conference playoff race, Pittsburgh and New York. 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific. ESPN and ABC now the exclusive networks for all NHL action.
Well, that was Sharp trying to get around the outside of Eddie Cheever in turn 3. That's a vast area, and Sharp had to be real careful.
Eliseo Salazar there in the shot also. He's running in the 10th position. There's Al Unser Jr. as he continues to lead the way here, but will need a pit stop before long, and man, is he...
Look at traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where these guys earn their money.
There's Cheever. Here comes Scott Goodyear.
There's Davey Hamilton on the outside, giving those guys room.
Hamilton back in 14th position. We have 10 cars on the lead lap. Buhl, Ward, and Gregoire are now a lap down, just 1 lap down.
And again, getting through traffic.
We have 50 laps to go, 150 complete. And we understand that Al Unser Jr. will be pitting shortly. He has led 23 laps so far. That's Eliseo Salazar, and here is Al Unser Jr. on pit road. 60-mile-an-hour speed limit down there.
Reset your dash, pump your clutch, plus half a turn of front wing.
So So they do make a chassis adjustment.
Trouble in the right rear. Trouble in the right rear.
What's the speed limit?
15.3 second pit stop for Al Unser Jr. with a bit of a bobble on the right rear. Still a good pit stop for the Gallus crew. And we have a spin. That is Sam Hornish. And I'm not sure, yeah, looks like he has made contact with the wall, but it doesn't appear to be a serious situation.
But this is not what Al Jr. and this team wanted to see. They just let out an awful disappointment because this caution just throws everything wide open for his competition.
Does put him a lap down on the field. Unfortunately, just bad timing for Al Unser Jr.
Well, it's a big part of racing. You do what you have to do, but they stretched it as far as they could. They had to come in, and boy, just at the wrong time, Sam Hornish Jr. has a problem.
Now, Robbie Buhl did get back on the lead lap, however. Here's the spin, and again, Hornish, oh yeah, he definitely did have impact.
Well, very similar to Robbie McGee's thing. In turn two, the car stepped out, but he was in a little bit of traffic right there.
He has stepped out of the car and is walking away from it. So we assume that Sam Hornish is in good condition. But it brings out our 6th caution of the afternoon.
We will pit as soon as the pit's open.
It would help if you called it for me. I can't see if the pits are open when I'm coming around. So you can tell me pits are open or something. Tell me code blue or anything you want to say.
That's Buddy Lazier's radio we're listening to, and the pits are closed right now.
Buddy Lazier has been suffering from a stomach virus for about 3 weeks. He came back to this Phoenix International Raceway somewhat recovered, but it's been a long battle for Buddy Lazier, and right now he's got the biggest battle of his life, guys, because he's come from last to first, and now it's all up to his crew.
Very interesting here, Jack, in these pit boxes, because Buddy Lazier is in one spot, and immediately behind his pit box is the pit box of Donnie Beechler, and right now those cars are running 1 and 2, so we'll get an opportunity to see which crew gets their driver out quickest.
The other thing, Vince, that's real fascinating is Buddy Lazier has concrete on part of his pit box, and as you know, Donnie Beechler has all asphalt. Different types of grip, especially when you drop the hammer after the stop. Here they come.
Lazier, the first to peel off and hit his pit box. The crew goes to work.
Again, it might be a time stop at this thing. They might not feel that full the car full of fuel because, again, they only have 45 laps to go.
Beechler getting service also. Under a caution here at Phoenix International Raceway. 7 different leaders, an all-time record at PIR. Should be going back to green here in just a moment at Phoenix International Raceway in the Phoenix Indy 200 for the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Well, we have had a total of 8 different leaders and 8 lead changes so far in this event. An all-time record here at this racetrack for the Indy type cars. Robbie Buhl right now is the leader. We are under a green race average of 155 miles an hour. Now, Al Unser Jr. and Stefan Gregoire are still on the lead lap, but they are at the tail end of the lead lap. They will come down and take the flag next time ahead of the leader of the race, Robbie Buhl. So Buhl is the 3rd car in line behind the pace car. Jackaroo.
Well, Robbie Buhl dodged not 1 bullet, but a whole slew of bullets. First, he pitted late, so he doesn't have to come in again, almost gets lapped, then he goes a lap down, but this caution gives him a chance to get the lap back. So what does John O'Gara and Mitch Davis radio to Robbie Buhl? Okay, buddy, we put you in the lead. Now you bring it home and win it. Vince?
These guys finished 1-2 at Disney. Robbie Buhl was the winner. Buddy Lazier was second. That's where Lazier is running now. Keep in mind, he started dead last. He was on the outside of row 13, 26th, and he's made his room all the way up to second. Here we go, green.
The green is out on lap 161, and we're back to competition. Scott Goodyear looking for 2nd place to try to pass Buddy Lazier. Couldn't get the job done, but now they're at full speed.
Scotty, watch your mirrors.
Well, good traffic, good racing on these restarts. A guy's got to be on the top of his game when that green flag goes down.
And a car up in the wall.
Up in the gray. I don't know if he hit the wall. That was Cheever.
I thought he was scraping against the wall, but he didn't actually hit it. Man, a great job by Eddie Cheever, but something is wrong with the car. And also, there is Jared Schrader as his afternoon comes to an end. That's a shame for that young rookie.
Well, we think Cheever might have a tire going down, might have started this thing.
The yellow has come out for debris on the race course. Buddy Lazier has taken the lead from Robbie Buhl in all the confusion. Actually, Buhl has dropped back to third spot. Lazier and Goodyear were both able to get by Robbie Buhl. And there is Cheever with the flat tire.
But the IRL has a rule where he can come into the pits even though the pits are closed. If they just change the one tire that is down, they won't receive a penalty.
Well, that tire problem might have happened from contact with Jared Schrader, so we're not sure, but that looks like those two might have got together.
And they're going to just change that flat left rear tire and send him back out and wait for the pits to open.
The rear wing is broken on Jared Schrader's car. He also is on pit road. There goes Eddie Cheever. Well, back with more of the Phoenix Indy 200 in a moment. Back at Phoenix International Raceway under caution because of two cars touching. Cheever and Schrader right there. That sent Schrader up toward the wall, flattened his tire, and broke the front wing on Jared Schrader's car, Vince.
Yeah, and look at the damage that it did to the front right side of the wing of Jared Schrader's car. You can see it just tore it all apart. They've taken the wing and the nose off, obviously, and they've replaced it with the front nose cone of a Tyce Carlson backup. So the car is going to look a little different, but Schrader is at least back on the track. But what a heartbreaking end of the race for Jared Schrader.
It was a great race for Jared, but unfortunately ends. Here is the leader, Buddy Lazier. Second place is Scott Goodyear. Now Robbie Buhl made a pit stop. Beechler is third, followed by Salazar and Sharp. Then both Unser, Gregoire, and Buhl. Buhl came in for some fresh tires. He's ready to go for the final 32 laps of this race. Lazier opening up some space between himself and Scott Goodyear, running in second spot. There have been three drivers who have started last and won here at Phoenix International Raceway, as Lazier is right now. Back in '74, Mike Mosley did it. Back in '87, Roberto Guerrero did it. And a guy named Tom Sneva did it in 1980. Remember that?
Well, I sure do. And we talked about gearbox problems. That thing, our car was stuck in high gear that whole race. So a one-gear gearbox, that's hard to do.
On board with Scott Sharp.
Donnie Beechler in the black car right behind Goodyear.
Daryl Soppy is crew chief on that car these days with Donnie Beechler.
Well, Daryl with the Penske team for a long time, with Mario Andretti for a lot of years. Daryl, a lot of experience, and Donnie Beechler was real happy to have that addition to this team. In fact, I passed Daryl in the pits on the way up to the booth right before the race. He had the degree wheel on the front wing, anticipating the car pushing, and he asked me, how many degrees do I go? I said, you know it's going to be hotter.
Advice from an expert. Donnie Beechler from Springfield, Illinois. Today's aerial coverage being brought to you by Wolf Air's Gyron Eagle, as we follow Scott Goodyear in the Pennzoil Panther car around the racetrack, as Scott is in second position. Last lap, Buddy Lazier, the leader of the race, was fastest at 163.1. Scott Goodyear with a lap of 162.053. Billy Boat and Al Unser Jr., 6th and 7th. Well, this race has got to give Al Unser Jr. some renewed enthusiasm. Didn't have a good outing in Orlando, but he has performed very well here this afternoon, leading 22 laps of the race, and he's closing in on quickly on the 6th place car of Boat.
Well, poor little Al, he's been backing up through the pack 2 or 3 times now, so he's had a pretty good workout on this day at Phoenix.
And just behind Al Unser Jr. is Robbie Buhl, the winner at Orlando, running in the 8th spot. An update again on Sarah Fisher. She's running back in the 13th position, 14 laps down after spending many laps in the pits for repair. And Robbie Buhl takes a look to the inside of Al Unser Jr. Cannot make the pass, however.
Well, but they're looking at this traffic right in front of them, trying to size them up, anticipate what to do when they get there before they actually get to them.
And now Unser looks to the outside of Billy Boat. That car that they're trying to get around, the red car, is a number 30 machine of Ronnie John Cox.
doing a good job. He stayed out of trouble and ran pretty good race all day long in the Jonathan Bird's cafeteria.
Yep.
So he'll be able to go to the front of the line at the cafeteria this week.
Well, one gets him to the inside and the other to the outside as they come off corner number 4. John Cock keeps the car on the low line. We mentioned the Cody's First Step Foundation. They're carrying the sticker on that car. Of course, Cody's 12-year-old, rather Alan Sir Jr.'s 12-year-old daughter Cody is suffering from transverse myelitis, and the foundation is simply to gather money for further research on the paralyzing disease.
Well, and right in front of Al again is Billy Boat, again a year-old car. So Billy's done a tremendous job with that thing today at Phoenix.
About 1.4 seconds behind the leader. Now we move up to the battle for the 4th position. That's Eliseo Salazar on the left of your screen and Scott Sharp on the right side.
Well, again, Scott was, you know, real quick early in the race, but his car actually had gone loose in one segment. So I don't know if they're still fighting that battle or not, but not nearly as quick as he was earlier.
Salazar had a 5th place finish at Orlando in January. Now finds himself
chugging, dude. You're catching
in the 4th position. So 2 good outings by the driver of the A.J. Foyt second car. If there is a first and second car, Jeff Ward and Salazar.
20 to go.
Teammates, there's Eddie Cheever, who is a lap down in the 10th position. Remember, he lost the lap when he flattened the tire, but still running up here in this pack. And Scott Sharp trying to get around Salazar. 20 laps to go.
Down the middle of turns 3 and 4, exiting 4 right here, coming onto the front straightaway.
Less than 20 laps to go in this contest at Phoenix International Raceway. Battle continues between Salazar and Sharp for 4th. Let's check in with our pit guys. First, Vince Welch.
Buddy Lazier is the leader. Remember, he started from the back of the pack. Ron Himmelgarn, the team owner, just told me it's Buddy's race car. We've done all we can for him, but the car is perfect, and it's up to Buddy to bring it home. We'll see if he can hold off Scott Goodyear. Jack Arute?
Well, Vince, when Scott Goodyear is out by himself without a lot of heavy traffic, he's actually turning laps a little bit faster than the leader. It's the traffic that has bogged him down. Checked with his crew, and he said, if we can break out of the box of the race traffic, we think we can reel him in like a trout in a cold stream.
Scott Goodyear, twice a winner in the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, here last year and at Texas. Buddy Lazier is going for his first win since July of 1997. That's Jeff Ward between Scott Goodyear and the leader Lazier. Ward is 4 laps down in 11th position. On board now with Scott.
16.
Laps being counted down. Donnie Beechler and Eliseo Salazar in a good battle here for the 3rd spot. Salazar looking to take that position away. We'll try it on the high side down through the dog leg. Nope, can't do it. Beechler does a nice job holding him off.
Beechler got in there pretty hot and almost got out of the groove, but was able to keep it in there. Again, Salazar's done a great job. They weren't that competitive early in the race. They struggled around 10th all day, but here at the end, he's starting to stand up and see a little bit, Bob.
Donnie Beechler's best career finish in this series was at Orlando, and he finished in 6th position, and he's got a 3rd place going right now with 13 laps to go. Now he begins to pull away from Salazar just a little bit. The incredible story involves Buddy Lazier as he passes Sarah Fisher once again. Fisher will be back at Las Vegas, as we will be in the final tune-up before the Indianapolis 500. An incredible story by Buddy Lazier.
Well, again, not just starting last either, Bob. They brought this thing out of the box last night. They only got a half hour on a brand new car, And there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong, but everything's going right today.
There's the interval between first and second, Scott Goodyear. And now back to third place, Donnie Beechler. There in the black car, there he is. When they come down, we'll have 10 more laps to go.
Beechler's driven away a little bit from
Yes,
Salazar, so
becomes a battle now between Salazar and Scott Sharp again. Well, Lazier might give Riley and Scott here their first victory, huh?
Well, they sure had a shot at it, Orlando. He was very quick there and got in some trouble with traffic late in the race, but he's right back knocking on the door now.
Scott Sharp heads to the high side of the racetrack. Can't get around Eliseo Salazar, however. Now he's got some slower traffic to deal with.
Well, it's fun when you catch him on the straightaway like that. A lot of times you don't catch the traffic in that position, but you breathe a sigh of relief when you pass somebody on the straightaway and don't have to wait for him in the corner.
3.5 second advantage for Buddy Lazier. And Buhl and Unser are battling for the 8th position. Al Unser Jr. just took that from Buhl, and now right ahead of Al Unser Jr. is Stefan Gregoire.
Yeah, that's 7th and 8th and 9th. They're all right there together.
So some good battles going on in back of the pack as we near the end of the Phoenix Indy 200.
Tom, you mentioned about the Riley and Scott possibly getting its first win. Also keep in mind, this was not the car that was supposed to run in this race. They withdrew the previous entry that had qualified, and that's why they started in the back today. This car had never been on the racetrack until today. In fact, they were just finishing putting the decals on it late this morning and early this afternoon. I mean, what a way to debut for this car, the Riley and Scott with a winner possibly.
Well, no kidding. They really struggled with their other car before they withdrew it. They threw everything at it and couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So they figured, we just got to, abort this situation.
Here's Buhl closing right in on Al Unser Jr. trying to get this position going into turn 1, and Al Unser Jr. holds him off. That's the battle for the 8th position.
Again, heavy traffic here, so this will be interesting. They've got their hands full. I think the Lau's car looks like it's getting a little bit loose, so it's going to have his attention and his heartbeat revved up.
That's Gregoire. He'll go inside of Sarah Fisher. Meanwhile, Robbie Buhl goes inside of Unser and gets it.
Pretty good little move right there by Robbie.
Robbie Buhl goes to 8th spot. Al Unser Jr. back to 9th.
And again, it just shows how competitive this series is. Little Al's leading the race, gets a bad break on a yellow flag situation right after his pit stop, and now he's struggled for the 8th and 9th spot where he was leading comfortably just a few laps ago.
Well, Buddy Lazier is leading comfortably with less than 3 laps to go. That's why we're showing you these good battles on the racetrack. Buddy Lazier used to race desert bikes outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Has himself in the lead here in the Phoenix Indy 200. He'll come down and complete lap number 198. We've got 2 more laps to go for Buddy Lazier. Just an incredible afternoon from this driver from Vail, Colorado.
Well, you listen to anybody and they say Buddy drives him about as hard as anybody out there right now, and done a tremendous job today.
Here he is coming down for the white flag. 1 more mile to go for Buddy Lazier, and he may have his 3rd win. His wife, Kara's watching. Off of corner number 2, they come so close to that outside wall, coming off corner number 2, through the dog leg, into turns number 3 and 4. And for the 3rd time in his Indy Racing Northern Light career, Buddy Lazier wins, this time at Phoenix International Raceway.
Nice job, brother. Beautiful job. Beautiful job. Way to go, girl. Way to go. Beautiful.
They want you to stop on the start-finish line out on start-finish line on the track.
From last to first, Buddy Lazier does it and takes the lead in the Northern Lights Series point standings.
Well, it doesn't get much better than that, Bob. I don't care what you say.
That was unbelievable. He will come down to the start-finish line. We hope to get a quick word with him. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com, part of Go Network. We have to leave the air here very quickly. We'll go down to Jackaroo.
Well, Buddy Lazier, congratulations. A long time coming.
Yes, it was. Thank you so much. My guys did an awesome job. We never driven this car before today. We rolled it out of the truck and the guys put it together. Just an awesome performance from my team. Really want to thank them.
Big victory, Bob, for Coors Light, for Delta Faucets, and most importantly, an All-American racing team, Riley and Scott in Oldsmobile.
Buddy Lazier starts last and wins the Phoenix Indy 200, part of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Scott Goodyear winds up in second position. Thanks for joining us here at Phoenix International Raceway today. For Tom Sneva, Jack Arute, and Vince Welch, I'm Bob Jenkins. So long from the Valley of the Sun.